Hello everybody and welcome back to part 4 in our video series touring Iceland in Flight Simulator. We left off our last video in Vestmannaeyjar in the south of the country, and today we'll be taking a long route over to Höfn airport. Despite it being a longer route, perhaps actually twice the distance we've travelled already from Reykjavik, it'll actually be a shorter video, and I'll explain that in a little while, why that is. We'll be taking a northerly course from Vestmannaeyjar out back to Eyjafjallajökull, east along Route 1 past Mýrdalsjökull down here, before heading past Vík and Dyrhólaey lighthouse in the south, then back across Route 1 and the floodplain south of Mýrdalsjökull and the volcano Katla, and then heading across the lava fields from the Lakagígar fissures and volcano here, which is this area, and then more easterly course past the various glaciers from Vatnajökull, including the Skaftafell National Park, before we overfly the highest mountain in Iceland, or volcano in Iceland, and head down the other side past Jökulsárlón, famous lake of icebergs, and further east ending up in Höfn or Öræfajökull here. Our route there, as you can see, is significantly longer than we've done before, 325 kilometres by road from Seljalandsfoss to Höfn, but actually probably around 185, 190 nautical miles by air. It takes about 45 minutes in total. But this flight will be slightly different, so whilst it is longer, the flight video should actually be shorter, because I've actually figured out how to do some editing with a little bit more scenery, outside views as well, and hopefully the sound quality should be improved too. So with a bit of punchier editing, this flight should be significantly shorter and a little bit more info. We'll be flying in prepared 2.3, so the new version, with cloud shadows on. We'll be using FTX global scenery, including the textures, vector, OpenLC EU and FS Global 2010 mesh. The weather will just be standard fair weather, because the weather was terrible when I tried to record this flight, and also wanted to see the effects of a dawn flight, so it's an early morning flight, and we'll be flying in the Iris Simulations Pilatus PC-9A for prepared. So without further ado, let's get in the cockpit and head off on our trip. So here we are in the cockpit, ready to go on runway 03. So we'll just increase the throttles, release the brakes, head up to maximum power now. It's a powerful aircraft this, it gets off the ground very easily, and we've chosen this aircraft because it's a fast aircraft. It will get us to where we need to go relatively quickly. So lifting up, take gear up. Now we can see the town, Heimaey, fly out over the harbour. And just off to the front here you can see how narrow the waterway is into the harbour at Heimaey, and this is where the lava was going to come down and threaten to seal off the harbour, but boats placed here with giant hoses were spraying the lava and prevented it from actually closing up the gap from the volcano here off to our right, and it actually created a perfectly natural inlet which has worked really well for them as a harbour. So a little bit of luck involved there. So off in front of us you can see Eyjafjallajökull again, which we flew behind in our last flight. The peak in front joined to the peak on the right, which is Katla and the Mýrdalsjökull as well. Road 1, you can just see the lights off in front of us, winding down beneath the glacier. Interestingly, I read up a bit on Eyjafjallajökull and the eruption in 2010. It started between the ice caps of Eyjafjallajökull and also the ice cap of Mýrdalsjökull, and it was a normal effusive eruption, like with lava fountains, very pretty eruption. What I didn't realise was the explosive eruption which caused all the problems afterwards was caused by the magma from that eruption moving underneath and actually lighting up old magma from an eruption in the 1800s, I think 1823. And what happened was there's magma under there over 200 plus years old that is still cooling down, and when it came into contact with the new magma it exploded, and that's what caused all the problems coming through the glacier, which I thought was pretty interesting. Here in front you can just see the road winding off down. It's a great road to drive along, some lovely sights here. Behind us was Seljalandsfoss, the famous waterfall you can walk behind. And just off in front of us, just to the left, if you drive along here and look to your left from the car, you would see the very famous waterfall Skaftafell, which is used in many adverts, films and publications, whatever it is, publicising Iceland. You will see that very often. So that's just here on the left. So there it is, Eyjafjallajökull, the volcano that caused all the problems. And just off the wingtip now is where Skaftafell is located, just behind that ridge there, which you can see as you come round. And definitely worth a visit. A couple of hours out to the capital Reykjavik by car. And here we're flying along basically what is a beach beneath us, and just off to the bottom here is a black beach of sand. I think it's Mýrdalsjökull it's called, and black beach caused by the volcanic sand that is around here. Very spectacular to see. And it stretches all the way along here to the right of the road. And just off the left here is a small mount called Pietersay. And the reason I've just cut in here is this is an area I know very well. Our family has a small summer house here attached to a farm just off to our left, which we'll see in a second. Beneath the ice cap here is Katla, the big volcano, and the farm is just down there. You see a road stretching off from one road up towards the mountain, and that's where we have a little summer house and a farm, and I've spent many happy summer afternoons there and down on the beach in front. So the road actually winds off to the left here, and we will follow the road for the most part of this trip. But just taking a slight detour to the right, and you can do this in real life as well, is a very famous and well known area called Dyrhólaey, which is a little peninsula here. And in real life it has a lighthouse on top of it, very blustery. You can drive up to the top and look back across the sands behind and see the views back to Eyjafjallajökull, the Vestmannaeyjar and all the area behind us. It's absolutely fantastic there. And there's also a rock archway which I believe another pilot was brave enough once to fly through, but it doesn't exist in this scenery, so unfortunately I won't be able to repeat that feat. And that's just this outcropping of rock that rises up in front of us here. That's Dyrhólaey, and again a very famous area which a lot of people will have seen. Looking out to our left, we can see the imposing Katla volcano sitting under Mýrdalsjökull, which is a very big and dangerous volcano. Not that there are any safe volcanoes. And a little town of Vik that nestles kind of beneath it. I think it is relatively safe from eruptions, with the main problem here being flooding. I think with the way the land is around Vik here, you'll see it is nestled in a little valley here. The outflow from any volcanic eruptions is directed off to our left somewhat, and very much more so further off to the right of the glacier, as you'll see shortly as we overfly the floodplains. So again, following the road round here, we'll take a slight left turn. Just after this outcrop in front of us is a bridge which covers the floodplains and a river which comes from the glacier and Mýrdalsjökull, where Katla erupts. And this part of the road here is quite a dangerous part of the road, and the reason it's classed as dangerous is purely because when Katla erupts, it doesn't give much notice for an eruption. Well, you get indication it's probably going to erupt, but the flooding comes very quickly from the ice tip just off to the left here and reaches the road here, and the whole area in front of us is a floodplain which can wipe away the road. So they do recommend that you keep your radios on when driving here, and it's a very barren black area of of sand and dust and dirt, and sometimes the visibility is very low as well, so there's a bit of trepidation when you cross over this area, to be quite honest, when you're driving. And this river here on the left is where the flooding comes down, one of the areas, and also to the right of the rocky outcrop there. The river and the water here floods massively. Some of the biggest floods that Iceland sees is when Katla erupts. Now, in modern history, it hasn't really erupted since 1947, I believe, so it's been a long time since it's actually affected things like infrastructure. But should it go off again in any time in the near future, when it's, you know, technically overdue, then it would cause great problems, because the flooding here would be wipe out the road and the bridges just around here and go all the way out, probably filling up pretty much what you can see out the window right now. So here we are, just in the virtual cockpit, just having a look around. Just touching again briefly on the flooding from Katla, they reckon that when it floods in one of its big floods, the flow rate is the same as the Amazon, Mississippi, Nile and Yangtze rivers all combined. So you can see why it becomes such a problem for the area if it does go up. And the reason for that is it's a caldera that's 10 kilometers across, covered totally in ice. Beneath us now though, we're kind of over a lava field here. This is the lava field that comes from the Lakagígar series of craters. This is a very famous eruption in Iceland's history. Back in 1783, just to the north of here, off to our left, a series of craters opened up and 14 cubic kilometers of lava and gases actually killed half of all livestock and about a quarter of the population of Iceland. And it affected temperatures globally. I think this was around the time when there was a long winter in London and things like that. And here we can see a top-down view. All of this area is a lava field which stretches up some, I believe it's about 40 miles to the north of here, 30 miles. And it's one of the biggest lava flows in history. The lava fountains themselves were reported to be between 800 to 1400 meters high. So you're talking a good few thousand feet there, way above kind of the height that we're flying at the moment, in fact. And those craters are up here, off to our left to the north, and you can go and visit those. You take an off-road vehicle up and you can go and see the existing fissure line that's up there. So just coming through the cloud there, you'll see we've jumped ahead probably around 50 miles east from where we were just a second ago. And this gives us our first proper view of Vatnajökull, the largest glacier in all of Iceland. You can also see the outlet rivers that come from Vatnajökull coming down from various glacier tongues that extend to the south of the glacier, the overall glacier itself. Up ahead in the distance, the furthest point of the glacier to the right there is the highest mountain in all the country, which we'll be flying over shortly. Just thought we'd have a quick look to the left. A lot of the volcanic activity on the news at the moment is happening up there to the north. And in addition, Grímsvötn, which is Iceland's most active volcano, is up there in the ice cap to the north and floods down here if it erupts. Perhaps not this river exactly, but this view also gives you a great indication of the detail of the vector software from Urbex. I mean, you can just see how many tributaries there are of this particular river. The detail is absolutely unbelievable. So Vatnajökull is the largest glacier in Iceland, covering around 8% of the surface area of the country. It is also the largest glacier in Europe. I actually said in an early video that Mýrdalsjökull, which we flew past earlier, was the second largest, which isn't actually true. I found when I was researching about Vatnajökull, there's a couple of other glaciers which are bigger, which we fly around later. But anyway, Vatnajökull is quite a famous large glacier in Iceland, has a number of volcanoes underneath its ice caps, one in front of us, one on the news at the moment, Balrogunda, and Grimsvötn, the famous one. And just to our left here, the blackened part of the glacier, if you like, which is kind of photoreal scenery that Orbex have added in here. This is a glacier which is very hard to pronounce, called Skaftafell. I think that's about right. And typically if Grimsvötn under the glacier to the north erupts, the flooding comes out from underneath here and wipes away the bridges of the road below us as well, you can see. And this was famously seen back in '96, I think it was, when Grimsvötn erupted and huge icebergs came down, and that is the outlet glacier to our left here, and the rivers come out from there. Popping back inside the cockpit just to check all is okay. Ice cap stretching off into the distance and the sun just coming up over the clouds there. I mean, I have to say this simulator is looking great now with the updates that have been done to it. It's a fantastic improvement on what was there before. For me, performance wise, I can see a massive difference to how it was running before, particularly with things like the cloud shadow. So just jumping forward again slightly, we're now overflying the ice cap itself, just to the east of where we were. We've just passed over Skaftafell National Park, which we'll actually revisit in another video. Perhaps in the next video we'll have a quick flight over there in, dare I say it, X-plane, just to give you a comparison. But anyway, right now we're flying over the highest peak in Iceland, the mountain underneath the glacier Öræfajökull. Not easy again to say, but this is again a mountain which is a volcano, stratovolcano, similar to Eyjafjallajökull, I believe, which is just under the glacier peak to our right of our wingtip right now. So there it is, just passing by to our right, and it hasn't erupted for a couple of 100 years, but erupts in a similar manner to Eyjafjallajökull, I'm led to believe. And that's the tallest mountain in Iceland, I think some 2,100 and something meters tall. So not the highest of mountains out there in the world, but tall for Iceland. What we're doing now is we're just descending down the eastern flank of the mountain and glacier so that we can get a view of a very famous area. And just to our left is the outlet glacier for Vatnajökull, Mýrdalsjökull, I should say. Another mouthful. And this is the glacier that feeds in the two famous lagoons full of icebergs, which you can just see appearing now. As we descend beneath the clouds. Incidentally, any stuttering you can see in the sim itself is probably actually caused by the recording software, because there was no stutters when I was flying this. So here is Jökull, which outlets into two lagoons. The first one on our left, which is the less famous lagoon. The first one to the left here, and then just off the wingtip is the more famous and familiar Jökulsárlón, which you'll have seen in anything if you watch Top Gear or movies like James Bond, View to a Kill. I think it was Die Another Day. It's been in Tomb Raider, it's been in Batman Begins, I think. And this lake here is very famous for its icebergs. It's one of the few places in the world where it's very easy to get to, where you can drive along the road, you can see, number 1 road still, park up just on the other side of the bridge in front, and you can go and look at the icebergs that come off the glacier. Now the glacier itself, I remember when I first went to it, was much further forward. This is a glacier that's retreating very quickly up, and the icebergs themselves break off and take, I believe it can take anywhere from a few weeks to maybe even a couple of years to get from the tip of the glacier out to the sea. There's no glaciers depicted in the scenery here. If you cross over this little suspension bridge here, I've seen seals and things playing in the water down here. Take a little left turn and you can get on a boat and sail around, eat some 1,000-year-old ice if you so wish. So that's Jökulsárlón. So we've cut again just a bit further east, closer to where we're going, towards our destination Höfn, which is off towards the left of the nose just now, the town, small town, and the airport that's down in the south coast here. This will be our final destination. Just coming into the cockpit now, starting to reduce the power and plan our descent down. Spectacular place to come and visit Höfn. A nice town, kind of nestling beneath a variety of glaciers and rivers coming down. Just trying to see if we can see and make out the airport. I think I can just see the lights of the airport there off the left wingtip, so we'll start to turn in shortly. I have to say the lighting effects and the cloud shadows and reflections and things does look pretty good. And there's the airport lights off the left there, I can just see and make out. Make sure we keep descending down. So we'll actually overfly the town of Höfn itself. It's a small town of I think about 1500, and it's kind of a stopping off point on the way around the country really. I think it has a small fishing harbour, as most small towns around here do. Town of Höfn coming into view now as we make our turn onto finals here. I hope you guys have liked this video. I mean, I have done it a little bit differently with these different views. Also, hopefully the sound quality is a little bit better, but it does give you a bit of a better sense of the scenery, I'm hoping. One thing I would say, whilst I did say this video would be shorter, it isn't as short as it could be in some respects. That's just purely because the scenery flying over now is probably some of the most spectacular in Iceland, so didn't really want to miss out any of the key things. Some of our further flights round will be even shorter, to be honest, but hopefully I'll be able to pick up on the key parts of the country that I wanted to show you today. So we come over Höfn here, see the little harbour beneath us. Coming on to final approach, up in the distance the glaciers coming down, the glacier tongues I should say. Really great little aircraft this. I'd highly recommend it to anyone who is after something that's quite fast, fun to fly. In combination with the scenery here, it does look brilliant. It's a really great simulator to fly, and I really recommend people try out Iceland for scenery. Somewhere a bit different to try out. Established nicely, have a quick look over where we've just come from. Two white, two red lights. Almost on the centre line. good length runway here at Höfn. Sometimes it's a backup airport for Iceland if they can't get into Reykjavik or Keflavik because of weather. On a rare occasion, either that or Akureyri in the north. So it's bringing the speed down now to slow down, and we're down. So just taxi in. I hope you did enjoy that video. As I said, a little bit shorter, hopefully a few more views for you guys to see. I will be taking a change in the next video. I will be going into X-Plane and having a bit of a comparison, just flying around this area because it is a beautiful area to fly around, and just seeing whether there's some differences, see what the differences are, how things compare, because I like both simulators, so it'll be good for you guys to see how it compares to Orbex. I think for the most part though, the Tour of Iceland will be prepared because the latest version is just great, and the scenery from Orbex is just great as well. So we'll just taxi around to a stop here, and the next flight, like I say, will probably be from Höfn here over to back to Skaftafell National Park behind us. You can have a look at Jökulsárlón in X-Plane versus how it looked in this, and then we'll probably carry on our tour of Iceland east and more to the north from here to start to take in the north of the country. So let me know what you guys think about the new format. Hope you liked it, and we'll see you again soon in the next video.